Thank you. I'm using the audio. Okay, today is Friday, August 31st, 2018. This is the first scheduled meeting of ITSC 2309 at Collin College. Today we're going to be covering installation of Microsoft SQL Server and going over the syllabus and stuff. So since I have to do some stuff with this, since I'm going to have a lot of time waiting and watching the little bar progress, I'm going to go ahead and start the installation right now. The installation is a little bit different than the video because they have done an update to the SQL Server. You at home, you may download 2017 if you want to. There is an Office 2017 out there. I haven't gone to it yet. I'm using 2016 because it's a stable version and I'm happy with it. If you have Windows 7, any Windows 7 people here, then you will have to download Microsoft SQL Server version 2012. I don't think Windows 7 will support the 2016 version. 2016 version is only a 64-bit. If you have Windows 7, you might have a 32-bit machine. Okay. Just go ahead and be safe, and the files you download, look for it out there. Look for download Microsoft SQL Server 2012. It'll behave the same way. Okay, so with no further ado, I'm going to go over here and on your desktop, you have a folder called SQL Class. I'm going to open that folder. In SQL Class, there is a file there called SQL Server 2016 SSEI, EXPR, that means Express Edition. And we're going to execute that. Say yes. Okay, we're going to take a basic install. We're going to keep it nice and simple. Basic install. You won't get far unless you accept their terms. The login location, we're going to leave it the same here. There's no reason you should change it. There's no particular reason not to change it. Yeah, if you want it someplace else, but for here, we'll just take the default. And I'm going to say install. And here we will sit for quite a while. Okay. I usually watch it for a minute to see if I'm going to get any error messages. And then I'm going to go back over to my syllabus, and we're going to talk about this. This is, of course, syllabus. Unfortunately, it's a little bit like anything that they do by committee. They design what they think it should be, and each committee member has some pet part that they want to put into it. So you end up with some monster that is 6 to 8 pages worth of syllabus. I've been teaching computer science for 35 years, and I have always been a big believer in a one-page syllabus. People aren't going to read 6 pages. There's no reason you should have to. But there's some stuff in there, and then I'll get to the bottom line in a hurry here. You should have the ability to program at the sophomore level. This course does not have a prerequisite, meaning that there is no particular class. We are used to have that ITSW 1307, the access class. Well, we dropped that out. We didn't think it was doing us any good. I don't know whether it's still required in the track or not, the database track. I'd get rid of it. But anyway, there are no specific ones, but I recommend that you have had some programming class. For example, COSC 1436, which is C programming. 1309 is also programming. I think they do that one in Python. Credit for a similar class. In other words, this shouldn't be your first computer class. we're gonna student learning outcomes. That's teacher talk. More absolute nonsense. Withdrawal policy. You need to watch your withdrawals. If you withdraw, I do not drop you. Where do I say it? I didn't say it here, but I say it someplace else. I do not drop students. If you stop attending class, you might be online. I don't take physical attendance in here. Call out your name, John Doe, Joe Blow. I don't call out names and check you present or not. I check you present in Canvas. If you log into Canvas, you're here. Okay. If you turn in anything, you're definitely here. If you're caught up, if somebody asks me, and sometimes I get queries from particularly the VA is real strict on attendance. The way I will decide whether or not you have attended, I will look at Canvas records. If you're caught up on Canvas and you're viewing the lectures and all that jazz or attending, then you're here. So I do not drop students. If you're going to drop, you have to drop yourself. Americans with this, I guess, can we see that? ADA, if we will adhere to ADA. I'm not allowed to say, is anybody here disabled? I can't say that, but if you need a special accommodation, then we will do everything we can do to provide it. Just see me privately. Criminal background checking is the last nonsense that somebody came up with. I don't know why we have to do that here. There's the instructor's name. I'm Dr. Smith. This is me. I don't have an office because I'm retired. I'm an adjunct. I've been teaching this class for a long time. I taught this class at Texas A&M for 17 years. So I know the material pretty well, and programming in general. So it comes a point where you just retire. And I like being an adjunct because I can do what I want to do and I don't see anybody. Class information, there's the, this is wrong. Okay. I guess I need to save this. Online by Zoom at ten o'clock to, I'm going to say, and that's not right. I'll have to, anyway, the time I had on there, that was my summer session, so I'll get that fixed. So you found the times. Let's see, the required hardware is this 64-bit processor and all of that stuff. Required software, SQL Server 2016 is our official software. You may, if you have SQL 2012 on your machine, go ahead and use it. It'll work fine. You can copy the files that we're installing. Okay, our textbook is SQL Server. Where am I? Textbook is right here. Okay. Textbook, the physical textbook looks like this. You may go to the publisher. The publisher's is right there, M-U-R-A-C-H, whatever that spells. If you Google that, Marush Publishing, there will be a spot there where you can get the ebook and save a little bit of money. If you are really interested in saving money, You can look for a 2012 version at the used bookstore. The only difference I can see in it is they changed 2012 to 2016 on the cover. I don't see any other difference. I guess there's some differences in the install, but they're very, very little difference. The page numbers are even the same. That's unusual from one version of a book to another. So this is perfectly usable book if you have it or find it out there at 2012. There's no reason to buy it. If I had this one, I'd just keep it. By the way, I did find this book at the used bookstore in Denton for $10. You'll need a flash drive, reasonably high speed. And I don't know, 200 megabytes, that's probably plenty. We're not going to be making huge files. Our files are going to be small. They're just going to be text files. They're going to be our programs. And SQL is what we call an interpreted language, at least the way we're using it in this class. That means that it reads the file piece by piece. So essentially, we're going to be writing batch files, right, for now, and running them. And those are just text files. They're not going to get very big. Attendance policy. Attendance is recorded by Canvas. Online discussions. I've never had a problem on that, but they make me put this in there anyway about how you have to be civil. Okay, there's the course calendar. Weeks on pretty much what we're doing. I probably won't have a capstone project. Usually I just don't have time for one. Okay, here's the real course syllabus. One page. Your instructor does not drop students. My exercises all have due dates. Not all the exercises, I will put a due date on it. This due date is for your information, okay? If you miss the due date, you do not have to kill your grandmother. That's fine. Now, the due date, if you're pacing yourself and getting it in at or around the due date, you're fine. If you're a couple of days late on the due date, no problem. There's no penalty if it says late on it. Okay, big deal. Used to be the reason we enforced there's two reasons to enforce the due date. I don't know whether I'm doing students any favors or not by having a soft due date policy. Meaning, if you're late, that's fine. You're late, sorry, but you don't have to tell me why. I don't need a long explanation. One of the reasons that we have due dates is to keep you focused and on track. But I do get sick of hearing all of the stories about kidnapped by gypsies, and you wouldn't believe some of them. And then the students get upset when I say, look, I really don't want to hear all that. If you're late, you're late. The other reason that we would do it that way, that we had due dates, was because in the past, I had to keep track of it. So you would hand me some physical artifact like a diskette with your program on it, or a printout, a paper printout or something. I had to keep track of it. And I'd spend more time grading. When I was grading, I'd spend most of my time sorting stuff into the correct piles of what it was. Figuring out what it was. Now with Canvas, I just don't have to do that. Once you hit submit, it's submitted. It's got your name on it. It's got the date you submitted it. I grade it when I sit down. Sometimes I ride the train over to Plano, and I just sit on the train and grade. So there's no particular reason that I have to worry about. What day did you turn it in? I don't care. Okay. Now, that said, getting behind is fatal. Okay. So you got a warning. Don't get behind. Let's go through this. So there is a cutoff date for the assignments, and I need to change this one too. I need to go through this syllabus. Summer 2018. So this is the fall, isn't it? fall 2018. Cutoff will be the last class meeting day of the semester. Okay. So when the class is over, it all turns into a pumpkin. I don't give extensions beyond that. If you're in the online section, it doesn't work out, you may come to class. That's fine. Some students will do that. The other important one is the Canvas gradebook. My Canvas gradebook is set such that it does not count late assignments as 0. Sometimes this will cause students to believe that they have a higher grade than they do if they've missed assignments. It's up to you to look at your grades and see if you're missing anything. There are some quizzes. Most of the quizzes, because we went with online, I was required to have quizzes in there. I put them in there. They are pretty much just to keep you doing something. The quizzes aren't meant to be, most of the time I don't put a due date on the quizzes. There's no reason you shouldn't get full credit on those, since I don't have any, I don't limit your number of times through it. Pay attention to them. They're important, but that shouldn't really be difficult for you. Okay, I'm going to step back over here and see how I'm doing. All right, I see that I am installed, and I believe you are too. Nothing really here to worry about. This tells you where it installed to it. Okay, there's some information for you. We're just going to close it. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, everybody get that? Now, at this point, SQL Server is installed. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. If you're sitting next to a machine that does not have a blue sticker on it, would you start the install process on that machine also, please? I'd like to get them all installed today, so I don't have to fool with doing it. The ones with the stickers do have Microsoft SQL on it already. Yeah. So we don't want to install twice. Okay, I'm going to go the next piece of this. Yeah, don't install on that machine. It's got the sticker. No, the stickers mean don't. It already has SQL on it. If you install on that machine, then it'll be installed on there twice, which consumes a lot of disk space, and confuses people when they try to start. I'm sorry, what's the? Is it still running? It's too late to cancel it now. Go ahead, and I'll have to uninstall that one. Okay. Move to a different machine, please. Okay. The next step is, this is the SSMS, the SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS. Okay, this is the next piece of it. But before I do that, I want to check and make sure that that one worked. So I'm going to go to my Start menu. I'm going to scroll down to Windows Administrative Tools. I'm going to drop down to my services, and I would suggest making a shortcut to services, putting it on your desktop. You may. Scroll down to SQL Server, SQL Express, and I see that the service on this machine is running. Okay. You should see your service as running. Now, at home, not here, at home, you're going to set this, notice it is set to start up automatic. Now that's fine, but the problem with it is there's a joke about SQL, SQL servers in general. Question? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Does it have a blue sticker? Yes, please install SQL on that one. You don't see do you see a folder that says SQL class? Okay, just sit tight then, and I'll get around to it. Okay, it's a pretty easy install. There'll be some stuff we'll do. Okay, when you get home on your machine at home, not here. Here we're just going to leave them running. When you park your car in the driveway at night, you turn it off, right? Why do you turn it off? Well, I don't feel like using the resources. I don't want to waste gasoline and all of that stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to properties of that one. I'm going to set its startup type to manual. Okay. All right. Now, this means that when I come in, I'm going to find that it is not running when I come in. So when I'm done with it, I'm going to go over here to services. I can also do it from the management studio. I can stop it. But one way to stop it is to come here, right click, go to, you can right click and go stop. Now, when you try to log in, and it won't connect, first thing you're going to do is check, did I remember to start it? Because I guarantee you there'll be people who will forget to start it, and I can't connect. No, you can't, because it's trying to drive your car without starting the engine. But here we'll leave it to automatic start, and then we won't have to fool with it here. Okay, so we're going to start the SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to double click that SSMS to run it. And then again, we'll watch it run for a while.
I can run the setup for the studio even as this is going, right?
I don't know. You could try it and let me know. I don't think that it will run any faster. It's a little bit like, there's only so much any computer can do at one time. So it'll never do two things at once. It just kind of switches out. So what'll happen, I think it'll just slow one of them down. I don't know exactly. I know that the installation is IO bound, meaning it's probably has to do more with the disk accesses than the processor. Let's see. I'm going to say yes here. I'm going to say install, and I think this is all I have to do. Okay, I'm going to go back to, while this thing runs, this thing will run in about 20 minutes. I'll go back to my syllabus, recorded lectures, and link to Canvas. Make a note of my personal meeting ID. This is what you will need to attend live from home. So in real time, I can hear you if you speak. Okay. Now, if you're going to attend in real time and you want to ask questions, so if you're going to come in lab and ask questions, I would like for you to invest in a headset similar to the one I'm wearing. Earbuds and little inline microphone. They just don't work real well with communication. So think of it like get a low-end gaming headset. It doesn't have to be a stereo. It's just, by calling policy, I'm not supposed to touch your computer. If you have a problem with your computer, it's got your private information on it, and I'm not supposed to be in there digging around in it. Classes meet one day a week. The final is usually at the class meeting time. Don't miss the final. This is a sample programming assignment. Okay. And this is code. This is computer code that you could practice. You could put it in there and your computer should run it to tell you if your computer is set up correctly. So if you get an error, there's a problem. It needs to be fixed. When you are doing SQL Server, when you are installing SQL Server, if you have a problem connecting to SQL Server, do not try to reinstall. That makes a mess. I've seen students that had 4 or 5 versions of it installed, and every time something went wrong, okay, I'll just reinstall, and you end up with it installed twice. That's what happens. And then, well, then we got to start over. When you decide to uninstall, I suggest you Google the process for it. There's a sequence that you have to follow. In fact, it goes just about like the way we installed. What did we install first? We installed the database engine, SQL Server engine. That's the first one you uninstall. Then you uninstall the Management Studio. Then you go through and uninstall everything else. And there'll be a whole bunch of files. You'll have a whole bunch of files in there. There's 10 or 15 files. Most of them will get uninstalled when you take the server and the Management Studio out. So when you say uninstall this file, it'll say error. You don't have that. So you'll still be seeing it there for temporarily. If you refresh, it'll go away. So when you uninstall the server, uninstall the Management Studio, then refresh your screen. And in other words, close the control panel, open it again, and the ones that have been uninstalled should go away. I believe that's it for the syllabus. I will get an updated syllabus with those dates and corrected. I'll have to, or my dean's going to be on me. They don't get on me about very much, but if my syllabus is wrong, they will. And they check. Let's see. What else? Well, next thing is, I'll go over this. If there are no questions on the syllabus, I'm going to go ahead and I'll save this. I'll go through that and then. Okay, it says you have to restart. And restart, the computer needs to be restarted before setup can continue. I don't find that to be true. It would probably be, you might want to do it anyway. I'm just going to say close, and I'm going, if I hit any problems, I'm going to restart. I think it's a good idea to do it, but I'm not going to do it. Okay. If I hit a problem, I'm going to hit it right now. Now, if I scroll down, I will see I have some Microsoft SQL Server stuff in there. And the one I'm looking for has got 2008, which is some, don't worry about it, you didn't install 2008. That's some legacy stuff that has to be there. Then there's the SQL Server 2016, and there's some files in here that are nice for the configuration manager. We might talk about a little bit. But the one we're interested in is SQL Server Tools. It looks to me like we're installing 2017. So I guess that's what they downloaded. But I'm interested in SQL Server Tools 17. If I drop that down, this is the one we want. Okay, this is the SQL Server Management Studio. This is what we're going to be using. Now, and talk a little bit about how many of you have taken the course in Access? I believe it was ITSW 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's up to you. I am agitating to have that removed from the core. Right now, it's still there. Your call. Okay, you'll find it to be fairly well. It has its good points. Database people tend to knock Access. I don't knock Access. There's nothing wrong with Access. What's wrong with it is the way people use it, and the way where we're teaching a class that we call a database class, but unfortunately what we are teaching, we're using a database class to teach Access. And I don't have a problem, but we need to be using Access to teach database concepts. I can do that just fine. Nothing wrong with it. But in Access, the graphical user interface, the GUI, GUI, the GUI is integrated with the database. You start it and you open a new database and you just do everything in the graphical user interface. Now, whether you know it or not, Access runs on SQL at some level down below it. So Access and SQL Server are siblings. SQL Server is Access's big brother. And SQL Server, which is a much more powerful piece of software, you find that you have the database engine, which was the first thing we installed. Then sitting beside it, you have another piece of software, which is called the Server Management Studio. The Server Management Studio is the graphical user interface. Now, I don't have to have the database on my physical machine. I could be sitting here working on this machine, and I could be accessing the database in New Zealand, for all I care. All I need is a TCP/IP link, and I can access it. Now, that graphical user interface is going to slow way down. So it's nice to know how to work with SQL. But we're going to use the GUI for a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start it now. And if I start that guy, so that is, oh, by the way, you will want this guy as a, go ahead and put him as a icon on your desktop. Make a shortcut to him, in other words. Okay. Server Management Studio. Hooray, hooray. Now, I pointed out one thing that Access is not very good at is having multiple people using the database. It's set up essentially for a single user. Now, some people will tell you, oh, but I can know how to, where I work, we use multiple people on Access. Yes, it can be done, but Access is not set up for it because Access, only one person can be updating a table at one time. We're going to talk more about that later. So Access is what we call a single user. That means that it doesn't do anything about letting two people work on the same database at the same time. One of them has to finish, then the other one can get in. Okay. It's like a very tiny door, only one person through it at a time. So it's going to stack up. You don't have multiple doors. It'll take us a couple of minutes to come up the first time. After the first time, it'll come up a lot faster. I don't know what that said. Go back and read that error message. Application Visual Studio could not be created. I don't know. I guess that means that it already exists. Okay. I said that multiple people can log in, and that's true. So you don't have to be on this machine to log in. Okay. But the secure way to run a server is to require that the person who is the system administrator on this one has to be sitting at this machine. Now, you can relax that if you want to manage it remotely, but the default is the system administrator has to be sitting here and no place else. They can't be sitting in another classroom connecting. So right at first, when it first comes up, it won't let us connect from remotely. It won't let us connect with a different user. If I am here and I am logged into Windows as the one who installed it, I'm okay, right? Because I can secure this machine. It's when I get out on out onto the network that I've got machines. So the default is Windows authentication. The others are SQL Server authentication is the other one. So we're going to do Windows authentication at first. Right now, that's all I have. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do at this time is to turn on the ability to log in to the server as a different user than the Windows user. So in other words, you could come in from someplace else. So in order to do this, I'm going to say connect. So when I connect, I'm going to connect as the Windows user, and I will be connected as the administrator. That's the only user I have. We just installed it. Questions at this point? Are you connected? Okay, well, nothing I can do about that. Okay, now I'm going to right-click the server. Now the server name is this thing up here. Let me see if I can make that bigger. No, the control and trying to make it bigger doesn't work. The server is the one up here that says it begins with PRC H133. That's this room. Excuse me. That's the machine name. I'm going to right-click that. I'm going to go down to Properties. Under the Properties, I'm going to go up here to this Pages, and excuse me. Good grief. Okay. I'm going to pull down to the Security page, Security. And right at the very first one says Server Authentication. I want to change that to SQL Server and Windows Authentication mode. In other words, we're going to let you log into this machine now. Either way, you can either sit at the machine, in which case you are the big shot, you are the system administrator, you can change any password, you can access anything about it. Or you can come in as a user with a password that is validated in SQL Server. It's not a Windows user. That's the way we're generally going to access it. Okay. I don't see anything else we have to do here, so I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to get this message that says will not take effect until SQL Server is restarted. It's not telling you to restart the machine. It's not telling you to restart the SQL Management Studio. It's telling you to restart the server. What's the server? The server is the service over in the Windows services. Now you could go over there and restart it. That would work fine. However, the nice thing about it is if I right click, notice that one of the options I have is restart. So if I click that restart, notice that there is also an option of stop the server. I don't know why they have an option up there to start the server, because if the server is stopped, you can't start it from the management studio. You're not connected. So, you know, you've locked yourself out. If you stop it here, you can't start it here. I don't know. I don't even know why that option's in that menu. Well, there's a pause. Okay, maybe it has to. Okay, maybe it started. I don't know. I never do it. I don't do that anyway. So we're gonna hit. If I hit restart, and it'll ask me, do I want to? Should take effect here in just seconds. Okay. Now, I recommend, I'm guessing, I'm going to go ahead and log out of this. I don't know. Well, I'll find out here. It's a good idea to reconnect, because I've stopped the server and started. It's a good idea to just do the reconnect thing. I got a feeling that it wouldn't work if I didn't do that. It's just, and so instead of confusing everybody, so it's a good idea to bounce this connection too. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the security tab. Security tab, second one down. I'm going to go to the logins. I'm going to right click the logins and I'm going to say new login. Okay. This is going to be your login. By the way, if you want to, this is where we come back in. If you sit down at a different machine, you're going to have to do this. So your login will only exist on the machine you are sitting on now. Up until this point, it's been generic. So you'll have to create a login. If you change machines, so this is stored in the Management Studio. Yeah, because the database is on the machine. Now, if we were all logging into some remote machine, then you wouldn't need to do this. But I'm going to have to create, if I change machines, I'm going to have to create a login. So this is something that you might have to do. So create a login. Now, what kind of a login do I want? I want an SQL Server authentication. We're making up our username now. What is my login name? My login name, mine is going to be SW Smith. SW Smith. Yours can be your first initial last name, or any can be as long as you want to make it, or as short. You cannot have any spaces in it. Okay. I like something simple. Password. Give it a password. Give it the same password again. Go down to the next line where it says enforce password expiration, the second checkbox. I'm going to uncheck enforce password expiration. I don't want it making me change my password. I'm going to leave enforce password policy. Your password has to have, a good password has 8 characters minimum. It has an uppercase, it has a lowercase, it has a digit, and it has a special character in it. And the password policy will require 3 of those. If you use 4, that's fine. 3 of them will be required. Uncheck expiration. One thing I want you to look at here while we're here, notice what the default database is. Just look at it. What is it? Master. Okay, we're going to have to change that, but we only have one database. So this user that we're creating is just a plain vanilla user, and he or she does not have the ability to write to master. Master is the system administrator's turf. This this user won't be able, because this user isn't a system administrator. So I'm going to have to leave that for the time being, and I'm going to say okay. Now my login exists. If I look down at the bottom of the logins, it might be at the bottom, it might not be. You should see your login. I'm going to go up to, I'm done with that for a moment. I'm going to go up to databases. I'm going to right click databases and I'm going to say new database. Okay. The database name, I'm going to create a new database. Database name, I want to be your username. Or did I say, wait a minute, I think I said Scratch DB, didn't I?
I think so.
It really does. We're going to have two databases here in this class. We're going to be using two databases. Now, I think I told you to name one of them Scratch DB. That's fine. That is, but you don't have to name it that. It's okay. You can name it your name. Many times I will name mine SW Smith _ DB to show when I see it, I know it's a database. Okay. Or you can, if you named yours, I think in the video I said name it Scratch DB. We're going to have two databases. We're going to have one database that we do anything we want to in. We're going to have one database that we trash. Well, we're going to trash all of them, but we're intro students. You're expected to trash it. We can fix it easily. But we have one database that is just our test database, and that's what we're building right now. Okay, this is your database. It's your place to play. You create a table. You want to create a table. You want to drop a table. You drop a table. Okay, and that's the first thing we'll learn how to do. So we're just going to go wild in here. The other database we will have is going to be called, it will be named AP _ DB. Okay, that is our production database. And we'll go ahead and create that one at the same time. Okay, here's the important part. It's not really important what you name it. Just remember what you named it. So if it has your name in it, _DB, that's groovy. Fine. Okay. The owner. The owner is you. Is your username. Now you can browse for it. It's easier. You need to know what it is, so you just type it. I typed SW Smith. And the other thing to do is this stuff down here in the window becomes important later. It's not important to us right now. So I'm going to pass over it for right now. And then after I get my main thing I want to get is the database name and the owner, SW Smith. Okay. While we are here, let us create another database. Right click, new database. I want you to name this database AP _ DB. AP for accounts payable _ DB. This will be our working database. This will be our production database. This database simulates a database for a company. Okay. So this is the one we're going to be careful in, real careful, because we don't get fired, right? Now, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, if you break it, you just break it, and we just reinstall it. I mean, we just redo the database. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to break here in just a second, and we'll get caught up. Okay. The owner of this one is also you. Or me. This one is me. Yours is you. So you own two databases. Now, remember the security tab. Open the security tab, go to your login, the one that you just created. Mine is SW Smith. Can you guys see the screen okay? Pretty much. It's as big as I can make it. I'm going to go to the properties of my user. Remember that bit a minute ago about the default database? Okay. We have to assign the default database. This user cannot log in until we get the default database assigned. So I'm going to change the default database. Let me see if I can bring that up a little bit on the screen. Default database. Okay. Default database is going to be my SW Smith DB. Yours will be whatever you named it, your name. Do not make the AP database your default database. if you just say create something, it's going to create it in this default database. You don't want to be creating just junk tables in your AP database. We don't want to clutter that one up. Okay, Lionel? Okay. So I'll make it be my SW Smith DB. I say okay, and now I am ready to roll. Rock and roll. Okay. This one, I'm logged in as the system administrator. To log in as system administrator, I have to be on the machine, and I have to log in as Windows authentication. Notice that the SA, system administrator, the SA user is X'd out. You can't log in as the SA user from the with server authentication. You have to log in with Windows authentication. But now I have set up because I've set up the user database type, now we can log in with SQL Server authentication. Now I cannot log in as a system administrator with SQL Server authentication because I left that locked out. If you want to do administrative stuff, you have to log in with Windows authentication. But SQL Server authentication, what's my login? SW Smith. What's yours? I hope you remember it. Password? Well, if you forget your password, how do you change it? You log into you log in with Windows authentication. You go over there and change it. Put it whatever you want to. Okay, it's okay if you want to say remember password. You may, you don't have to. Remember, you won't be the only person on this machine, so I don't think I would do remember password. I think I'd leave your password locked out. That'll keep most people out of your stuff. We're going to be nice to the other class, and we're not going to go in as system administrator and trash their stuff. And I'll tell them the same thing. You stay out of system administrator and going over and try. If you have to get into your account, get into your account. But if you see somebody else's account on that machine, leave it alone.
I signed in through SQL Server authentication, but SA doesn't have a red.
Okay. That means that that you've turned it on there. We can turn it on. You can let SA log in through SQL Server authentication. In general, the default is no, unless you change it. At some point, it got changed. It's not a big deal. Okay, and then when I say connect, I am now connected as SW Smith. There may be another user, another password, unless the other users connect as the system administrator, which they're not supposed to, and I will frown at them if they do, and at you. If you're getting into other people's stuff, if you see another user on the machine, just leave the stuff alone. It's not yours. You can't connect with. You can't get to it from your user. You have to go in as system administrator. So nobody can be, if you connect using your user and your password, you're safe. You can't trash anything that you're not supposed to. You can trash stuff, but it's yours to trash. Okay. And if I were to say new query, now I have a programming window and I am ready to go wild. Well, we might go wild in a minute, but for right now, I'm going to pause my. Let's see. Have I resumed? Okay, I'm recording now. Okay, I'm now recording again. Okay, so I have everything ready to go. I have 2 databases created, and I have logged in now as my normal user. So I log in as this user. I'm going to go ahead and just say I'm logged in as SW Smith, and go ahead and put your own user in place of that when talking. So I'm logged in as SW Smith. That means I have access to 2 databases. My default database is called SW Smith _DB. Yours name will vary, of course. And then we have one that is not going to vary, that is called AP _DB. In general, SQL is not case sensitive. Places that it might be case sensitive are passwords. Most of the time, though, database is not case sensitive. For example, Oracle, the password is not even case sensitive. So users can be uppercase, lowercase. We typically put them in lowercase, but you can change that as you wish. I believe that I would just go ahead and stick with lowercase, and it'll probably be a lot. We'll get that username fixed in a minute. Okay, that's fine. Now, I want to, we're going to run a file here. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go over to my canvas, and I'm going to go to the modules. The orientation module is one that has to be there. I don't think I have you do anything. Maybe, oh yes, I have you take a quiz on the syllabus. That gives me a good way to say you were here, if you take it. You can read about how I got here. My hobby is I build tandem bicycles. This is my wife, but you don't care about that. What you want to do is you want to see where we're going to this next file. And so in the install SQL server, which is module 2, and go down to page 5, which says create the accounts payable AP database. Okay, there is a file here. Download the file. It says create _AP.SQL. I'm going to click that guy. And then under the web, if I click him, he shows me the file, and it says download him. So I will click this to download, and he will go save the file. The file is going to get saved to my downloads folder. Say, okay, well, yeah, okay. Its name is createap.sql. I'm going to say save. I recommend that you copy that file to your flash drive. Okay, let's take a look at it. Now I've got it in my downloads folder. I'm going to go over to my Management Studio. I'm going to go to the file menu item, file, and I go to open. File. You can also go Control-O, notice, but I'm open, file. What file? I'm going to navigate to the downloads folder, and I'm going to open Create AP. And what you are seeing now is SQL code. Okay, let me go through it with you, just enough of it to where you can see what you're doing. The first statement in there, oh, by the way, these guys are comments. Anything that begins with a dash is a comment. You can also use the C style comments of a slash asterisk, close it with a slash asterisk. The dash closes at the end of the line. You may use either of them. The first executable part, so here's where your name would go. You'll have a heading. The first executable line says use AP_DB. Now the database that you're going to be writing to has changed. Now the active database is AP_DB. If you don't have AP_DB, you're going to get an error right here, and everything will come to a screeching halt. So make sure that you have it. The first thing that it does, it drops everything. So it says, checks to see, do you have something called invoice archive? If you do, it erases it, drops it. So, excuse me a second. Basically, I go through this guy and I drop all of the tables. Clean slate. It erases the whole database. Drops a bunch of stuff. Then it starts creating the tables. So it creates a table, creates a table, creates a table, creates a table, creates big tables, creating tables. Yeah. Okay. Now we start inserting. So it inserts data into the tables. Insert, 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 insert. Put data into the tables, and so on. Now this is a pretty long program. I know, I wrote it. So it gets pretty long-winded here. Oh, let me show you something that you should do here. I want you to go to, let's see, how do you do this? We're going to go to the tools icon. The tools icon. You do not have to do this, but it makes your life easier. Tools. Pull down to tools. Let me see if I can remember. Options. Text editor. Drop him down. All languages. All languages. And over here, do you see line numbers? Now, it doesn't matter a bit whether you put line numbers on it or not, but it's going to say you have an error on line number 457, and it's real nice to know where the heck line number 457 is. Okay, so if you'll turn on those line numbers, okay, let me go through how, now notice I've got nice line numbers over here. Let me see if I can go back through that again. I went to tools, one down to options, clicked all languages, and general, all languages general. And then over here, under all languages general, I have an option for line numbers. The rest of them, you're free to take a look at them if you change them. Most of this stuff has to do with how the editor behaves. So main thing I like getting on there is line numbers. That'll be real helpful. Okay, we have this now and we are ready to go. And so what I've got him in there, I've looked him over, and if you trust it, we don't run just any kind of SQL, but we're ready to do it. Now, the main thing is don't have anything highlighted like that. But make sure you're unhighlighted, nothing's highlighted, and you come up here and you go execute. And query executed successfully. 750 lines of SQL code just executed right there. Did it work? Cool.
Where's the execute button?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's right there. It's execute.
Oh, okay.
Don't hit debug. It'll do something different. That's how we will run our program. So this is an SQL program, and you just ran it. Now, what happens if you trash your code? When you trash your database, all you have to do is log in, execute that file again. Not only will it reinstall all of your tables in about 3 seconds, we're not going to be making changes to this database a whole lot. We might insert some stuff. If you want to insert stuff, if you want to change the database, change the data is fine. I have my own data. So when I'm checking your code, I know exactly what I'm expecting it to do because I'm running your code against my own data. This is why I want it named AP_DB, because I don't want to have to worry about, gee, what's your database name? What's my database's name? I say when it says use AP_DB, it's going to find that one in my machine too. And I know exactly what the data are in it. So when I run your code, I'll know exactly what to expect. No, I won't, but I know if it's perfect or not. Right? Then I have to go in and figure out why it isn't. So all of your code is a big SQL program. So that's what you're going to be turning in here is SQL programs. Now we are ready to run against it. And now if we were to drop that sample program that's right at the end of the syllabus into our window and say execute it, it should run just fine. So this guy right here, you can go from here, you can go save as, and you can put it on your flash drive. You can download it from Canvas, put it on your flash drive. I suggest you go ahead and put this guy on your flash drive. We're going to be using him. The other thing is that there are dates in the database. Now this program actually came from our textbook, and the dates in there were written in 2012, I believe. Maybe 11. Therefore, and then some of the exercises say, okay, find all the invoices that are due in the next 30 days will be one of our, as a sample assignment problem. Well, gee, all of the dates were 2011, right? There aren't any due in the next 30 days. But so I modified it to where when you run that create AP, all of your dates are brought up to current. So then you'll have a few that are due in the next 30 days. So when you run that, it takes care of all the dates. It puts in current dates. Questions? Gee whiz, that's about all I've got for today. You say, isn't that enough? Let's see, it is 11:30. I can't let you out 20 minutes early. I'll run my reputation. I was worried, I always used to worry when I was new teacher and, taking my degree, that I'd be in front of a class and not have anything to say. This never happened. One thing about teachers, we never get tired of hearing ourselves talk. But you probably are. Okay. If we are caught up there, in other words, if we have this done, if we have the AP installed, and if you're reasonably confident about the syllabus, I will get those dates fixed. I guess that's about it. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to end the recording. So I don't have anybody logged in. Only have one person. Okay, so when I go to the, stop